This is what happens when you try to wait on noise. All right, let's get this party started. Probably had people thinking that she ain't going live this week. No, I was just trying to wait for the farm next door to calm down the noise. I don't know why the field next door is being tilled, but it was. Yeah, let's get the word out and get fired up. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I'm your host, Kalari GXC. We have a lot to talk about tonight, so we are going to get things started. First off, I want to thank everybody who bear with me. As you know, it's been about a week. We had a loss in the family. Axiom Wolf's grandfather passed. We took some time away from both stream and other stuff to help the family out with things and just process everything. And then within that week, we had a lot of extra added unnecessary drama try to force its way in, and we just hard noped it. So I thank everybody who bared with us taking time away. And I mean, I took complete disconnect. No video games, no anything. I just needed time to process everything. He needed time away. And we'll be back this weekend. He's definitely going to be back game streaming this weekend. I should be back on Sunday and hopefully get the Bonnet Chronicle schedule back on par. I know with the midterms coming up, taking time away was touch and go, but mentally, I just did not have it in me to sit and regurgitate telling people to vote. But I do think that with everything the media has been doing, that it is vital to not be quiet the whole time. And since we're still almost a month out before it's time to go and turn in your ballots, I just want to keep reminding everybody, anybody who's still in the weeds, anybody who's still indecisive, on why it's important to focus. Now, I'm highlighting a friend of mine. Um, as you know, I follow a lot of people who keep their eyes on both the media and especially, democratic process. And one of the things we noticed, one of the things that jumped out this week that I definitely wanted to talk about is the way the media keeps framing and reporting things and the current narrative that we need to push back against with our ballots is this whole idea that independents are leaning towards Republicans. They are trying so hard to make the GOP, who are literally coming out swinging against women's rights, against anything that isn't straight white Christian and male, and making it clear that they want a religious theocracy. They have made it clear what will happen to us if we put them in power. They have gone after kids with their Don't Say Gay bill. They have stranglehold economic things, and then they do stunts where they ship migrants like their toys into other places. So when I say it is very clear what the Republican agenda is, for our media to even try to frame it where independents are leaning towards them, and then when you come and you find out that the poll was hyped up by mainstream journalists, a 32-point swing amongst independent women, but they only based this poll on 95 white women, and the margin of error is a 10-point. So they found 95 random white women that claim to be independent that said they might be leaning. Because I don't know about you, but from what I've learned in my years of voting, a lot of people who claim independence don't even get out to vote, sadly. They just don't. They pick independent because, oh, neither party really speaks to me, and I don't feel either way about it, but I have to have something. And if you are an independent voter and you actually vote, don't get in my face. You know that you are few and far between. A lot of people who claim to be independent don't vote because they don't feel strongly either way. So when you have these supposed polls run by the mainstream media where they keep trying to say, well, independent people are leaning more towards Republicans, but they don't, the data does not say that, it's a problem. And what kills me is they run with stuff like this and then people believe them. And welcome to the chat, Beans. Welcome to the chat, Fulfe. And that is awesome. I feel like so many of us are doing our absentee ballots. And if you were able to get on your absentee ballot and fill it out, it's just freeing. Not having to worry about whether or not I'm going to be harassed at the polls, making sure that my voice was counted. We need to push for this to be throughout every single 50 state, especially for those of us that are disabled, especially for those of us who want our voices heard but are disenfranchised. It is beyond time for safer voting measures, and the only way we're going to get that is for those of us who can vote unchallenged to vote and get people in that want to see that happen. And I know some people are like, well, how's that work? How do you expect me to vote and then make everything easier? Because if you elect actual Democrats who want to make it easier to vote, who know that the democratic process is probably the only way they'll be elected, and that the other side really doesn't want that, we got to put in the work to make it easier. If you told me even 4 years ago that I would have been able to sit at home, look at my ballot, look up stuff online, figure my stuff out, and fill it out at my leisure, and then get it safely to my polling place, I would have told you crazy. I always believed that, nope, voting means you got to stand in line. You got to make sure that you do everything the polling workers say. I was used to voting the old-fashioned way. And if I have to go back to that, I would, because I believe in getting my voice counted. But after the last 3 times of absentee ballot voting, I don't understand people who don't do this. I legit do not understand the people that are like, well, I don't trust it. It doesn't feel right to me. You are literally in the comfort of your home, able to fill out the polling thing without the pressures, without the stress. They have it where you package it nicely and you get it back to your polling place. It is so simple. And we need more of this. And I know that there are states like Oregon, and I do believe there are parts of California that have full-in, mail-in ballots. We need a national voting initiative where people can do this, because I just don't understand why this isn't more mainstream. And for those of us who are disabled, like I've said before, we have been at the bottom of the rung. And welcome to the chat, Terry Antico. Welcome to the chat, honey. To have the ability to have our voice count, to be able to elect people that see us as people, this is the way. So if you are on your absentee ballot, if you have a way to early vote, do it. Because the media has been framing this as, oh, it's close. They're even doing this here. I'm in Michigan, for those of you that don't know by now. I know that my accent flips because I'm originally from New York and I lived south for a long time. So you might hear y'all from me, you might hear you guys. But I am currently in the state of Michigan. We have a governor race that, to me, isn't even closely contested. But if you go by the way the media is framing it, they are trying to literally put Tudor Dixon on the same level as Gretchen Whitmer. Tudor Dixon is a cartoon character. Tudor Dixon is a pro-Trump, full-on theocracy. There is absolutely no fucking way anybody with a brain. We literally have ads of Republicans coming out against her here. Yet if you go by the way the newspaper, I just read an article that was trying to frame it as a close race. It's not a close race. But our media, for some reason, has a personalized investment in turning so many of these races into like a horse race. And it's dangerous. Because if enough Dems who are apathetic, and I don't mean Dems like me who already got our ballots done, I don't mean the Dems who have already been canvassing, poll working, I mean those wishy-washy, I still need a message because I don't feel catered to Dems, get it in their mind that, oh, it's close, I don't want to bother. It could be dangerous, but I am telling you right now that if Tudor Dixon somehow wins the governor of Michigan. I'm going to call shenanigans. Gretchen Whitmer has not only made revenue better, she was so tough with the whole enforcement of the lockdown that those yahoos tried to fucking plot to kidnap her. She is an effective governor. She is good for the state. And I just do not believe that the news is really trying to frame it as a close race. But this is what we are up against. These are white men who really want us to fall face first in the fascism. They want us to just give up and be apathetic and be like, well, it doesn't matter anyway. These people, this is what they want. The people of Rust Belt, this is what they want. Economic anxiety. And they've been running that tired narrative for years now. And it is time to put that baby to bed. We are sick and tired of hearing our media cry about the poor white people. Because the Republicans ain't doing shit for you either. They let you get COVID. They told you, oh, you can't trust the government unless it's people that look like you. And the people that look like you let you fucking die from a preventable pandemic. They downplayed it when Trump was in office. Made you not trust this current administration. You were dying on respirators because you can't trust the government. The government can't tell you what to do. Welcome to the chat, Respect. And we keep trying to frame the narrative about their issues, their economic anxiety, their fears. And their fears and agenda have cost us way too much. It is time for everybody to recognize the beautiful diversity of our country and move on past this need to center the right. Because the right isn't all right. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to keep playing these games. And when you've got these fake polls out there, when you've got these media sources trying to make close races, when you've got them literally trotting out walking, talking vegetables like Herschel Walker versus accomplished senators like Reverend Warnock, I have to call this BS out. And while it's tiring, while I shouldn't have to be a broken record on why voting is important, I am not going to stop because we are so close. That finish line is right there. And while I was fortunate enough to get that absentee ballot out, I know that some of you haven't. And I know that some of you are wondering, well, I don't know if I feel like standing in line next month. What's it matter to me? What's it going to matter if the Republicans take over? Oh, I got a tax hike? And I'm going to tell you how insidious it is here. Because we live in Michigan, and as everybody knows, like every state, you've got your red sections, you got your blue sections. And we are in a weird in-between where we have little pockets of blue here, but it is almost all red. Like rural-ass fucking red. I legitimately late because the farm next door was running his dresser rural. And I like it because I lived in the country for years. But what I don't like is the attitudes here, because they want to blame the Dems for all the supposed economic issues. The gas prices here are a little bit higher than they are downstate. And it's for a reason. Because then the conservatives can complain, well, see, this is what Biden's doing. Everything's a bit higher here. Your food's higher. This is higher. Inflation happens, and a more educated populace would understand that, but they don't expect people around here to be educated. They don't want them to. They want them angry, they want them anxious, they want them fearful, and they want them blaming the government unless the government's like them. And it's dangerous. And that shit has gone on for well over 50 years now. And it's effective. It's why so many of these fuckers allow these yahoos on the school boards that want to ban books, but don't want to actually teach full history. It is why they elect assholes like Tommy Tuberville over accomplished men like Doug Jones. It is why I have to stay vigilant here, even in Michigan, because even our Dems aren't altogether okay. We still got idiots like Talib to deal with, but at least we are on the job here. But the thing is, we are up against the media that wants us to just fall in line with their ideology and fall in line with their religious theocracy. And it all, like, there was an influx this week. And I know I wasn't on Twitter a lot this week. I've been limiting my online stuff, dealing with the loss and everything. And it was just a good break. But when I got back, I seen all of that weird pro-breeding bullshit. My one friend, Petty, was responding to a woman who said that, you know, our wombs are sad and it's not natural to bleed all the time. We should have been having a bunch of babies. And it's like, is it just me, or does it feel like a certain demographic is legitimately trying to drag us back to 300 centuries? Like, I love being a woman, and this path didn't come easily because women are so disrespected that it is hard for so many of us to figure out our place. Trans sisters especially. I seen that weird trending trying to drop the T from LGBT. Stop that shit. It's gross, and I don't have acceptable forms of bigotry. But my journey of acceptance of my femininity took some time because I went through a period where I thought I was non-binary simply because I was just so sick and tired of people defining my femininity, defining what it meant to be a woman. And I realized that nobody could tell me how to be. I love being female. But I also feel like my place isn't just popping out babies. I love Kiddo, but that was my choice to have him. And it wasn't because I have this crazy innate need to just develop children. Yet for some reason, they have really started to indoctrinate certain women to believe that's their only purpose. And if you want to be programmed that way, fine. But the rest of us want to live another life. I've got other plans, sorry. You know, I love being a mom. That's not the only thing. That's not my only function in life. That can't be your only function in life. You will be greatly disappointed. Your kids are a work in progress. Half the time they're going to yell at you. They don't appreciate you. They make demands out of you. It is an almost thankless job until they're old enough to realize all the sacrifice, hopefully, that you put in for them. And that's not even a guarantee. So when I see this influx of a certain demographic pushing that that's our place and that women's wombs are sad, and it's like, is this what the church teaching? Along with this weird new militant Jesus lean that some of them are trying to push. It's all coordinated and it's all on purpose, and we have to push back against it. When you've got the people who were literally in our face not even 10 years ago about how Christianity's compassion, now saying, oh, too compassionate. We need to teach that Jesus was tougher. We need to be hard line because now people are being opened arms about diversity. We can't be open armed. If we can't hate somebody, then how do we feel powerful? It's a mess. And they have made it clear that this is their side. And so when I see our media weighing in about how independent people are wavering towards that, no, they're not. And if you are a Dem right now and you're still not sure what you're going to do next month because you don't feel catered to, you're not a Democrat as far as I'm concerned at this point. I am tired of playing these games. We are literally at the cusp of fascism. And while I've already seriously talked to my partner about what we could potentially do if things go to shit, we shouldn't, in the year 2022, have to be making plans to flee. But it's a reality that so many of us have had to think about, talk about. My one friend broke my heart. She was talking about how her 16-year-old talked to her because they live in NC, which I lived in for a while. What if the GOP get a majority in that state again? Will we have to leave? Because they are proposing things like their version of the Don't Say Gay, which is just working swimmingly for Florida. Sarcasm, y'all. It's heartbreaking to have to look at your child and wonder if you have to uproot them to protect them. One of the reasons why Kiddo and I made the decision to come back up north, and it's not 100% better, because unlike some people, I don't push the myth that the north is better than the south. It's just easier to me for a potential escape plan in case we have to make an escape plan to be closer to the northern border than to be all the way to the south for me. That was the whole idea of moving up north because, like I said, there are a lot of pockets of red here. But the whole point of doing this was to get away from the acceptability of the theocracy down there. They call it the Bible Belt for a reason, and they literally will dump a Bible but not read it. And this whole idea of hardline militant, women needs to know their place, the man needs to be leader of the house, all of that has just created a toxic cocktail. Angry, frustrated males because they're not having sex. Yeah, I seen that shit too. I couldn't believe that this was a serious conversation happening. This is why I checked out from Twitter, because I couldn't believe it. Actual female journalists, white female journalists, because I need to quantify that yet again. Some of y'all need to really check your sister girls, because if this was a black woman, we would have checked her. I'm telling you right now. And I'm not going to act like there aren't some black pick-me girls that seem to think that we owe men sex. But them wayward sisters don't have a platform where they can write a long-ass rambling thing about how right to sex. That should never come out of your mouth. I don't care if you're trying to be hypothetical. I don't care if you're just trying to have a conversation. We have enough young men in this day and age who think they're owed, who literally form online cabals of angry, dissatisfied, picky ass motherfuckers at that too, who rate women because they think they have the nerve when they look like fucking thumbs to rate women on looks, on how many bodies they've had, all of these weird, arbitrary, weird critiques for the other sex that you're not getting. And now we're doing whole ass articles about how men under 30, men between 18 and 30 aren't having sex, and how is this a problem? It's not a problem for me. I'm sorry they're having that problem, but why is our media making this a thing? It's coordinated at this point. They're not talking about how men aren't being raised to see partners as equal, how sex is treated as an emotional weapon and tool, how we humans still don't even understand our own sexuality, gender, and gender fluidity, and how we have to start doing that if we're going to have a healthier society. No, instead of really getting to the heart of these issues, we instead frame it as this is a problem. We don't have a solution to this problem, but we want to just say this is a problem. And Twitter ran with it. And it's dangerous because we already have this entitled attitude to go along with it. So you tell these entitled men that you're not having sex and that's not fair to you. What are you going to do about it? You're angry. And some will go, you know, I am angry, but there's nothing I can do but stew in it. Others will get weapons and cause damage. Others will go after women and cause damage. We are not a society equipped to process this problem properly, and we need to get there. You want to shine a light on the fact that young men aren't having sex? How about that's a good thing? Maybe some of them are voluntarily not sticking their dicks into things because, A, there are diseases out there. A, the world, not even 3 years ago, went to shit thanks to a little virus. So maybe people are just not in the mood to put themselves at risk. But that article doesn't want to unpack that. They just want to fearmonger. And that is a problem with our current media. And it all ties into what's going to go on next month, because when we go to the polls, all of this shit weighs in. And white men are constantly aggrieved. They're constantly the victims of something in their own mind. And they're not getting sex to them is just as bad as our being legalized lynch. They're not getting sex is just as bad as our literal right to choose being on the line. And that is why I don't fucking pay attention to stuff like that normally. But when you've got it circulating on the social media app that most of us use, you got to call it out. And the fact that our media continues to run pieces like this, continues to push back against the very open attack on women's rights, the very open attack on Black lives, the very open attack on a free and fair America. It is infuriating to me to see people lament about sexless young men who, y'all will be fine. You got a hand, use it. There are toys, use them. But if you want actual intimacy, you've got to realize that your partner is more than just a sex doll. And that's a problem that we aren't tackling as human beings. We don't tackle the fact that sex is just one aspect of a relationship, and that a healthy relationship has more than that. But people don't want to have those conversations yet because we are not emotionally mature or ready for that, and we have to start getting that way, because the alternative is angry, dissatisfied, armed up idiots who think they're owed, who write manifestos online, who literally beg for help. We're literally watching a young man, 16 years old. He just said he's going to plead guilty. 24 charges, including terrorism, first-degree murder, because he decided that he couldn't take it no more. That Lumley kid, 16 years old. I wasn't the best. I was going through some things. I have schizophrenia, so I know my mind wasn't where it was. But never in my mind did I think I needed to get a gun and take a bunch of lives. There is a reason so many young men, but especially young white men, get it in their head that this is the only way for them to get attention, for them to make a name for themselves. And instead of us looking at this problem seriously, the whole article that I just read before I got live tonight, everybody's pointing fingers. Who can we blame? Yeah, the parents definitely share a lion's share of why Ethan turned out the way he did. But too many people ignored the signs. This boy literally wrote to his teachers, literally put out there that this was how he was feeling. And instead of having resources that could help these people, instead of taking him and making sure that he did not have access to guns, everybody ignored the problem until it was too late. Same with that Buffalo shooter. The signs were there, but we have become a society that stone-faced ignores an issue when it's right there in front of us. But let a Black child wear a hoodie. Let my Black ass say BLM. All of a sudden, all eyes, oh, they're being woke. Let's shine the light. That's a bad thing. Woke is bad. Compassion is bad. Asking for their rights to live, bad. But this hurting child, whether they're a Rust Belt child, whether they're in any pocket, because it happens in the inner city too. When a child is telling you, I am unhappy, whether they're cutting themselves, whether they're drinking early, we need to start paying attention to that. It's not easy. Sometimes kiddo will come up to me and start rambling on about stuff, and I will sit and try my best to listen, because he cares about stuff. He was talking about some weird prehistoric fish earlier today, and part of my brain was like, I really want him to shush. But another part is, my child is talking to me. I need to listen. Because if he feels comfortable rambling at me about his passions, he'll be able to come and talk to me when he's not feeling right about stuff. That is the give and take. That is the door of communication that you need to have with your child, and you have to listen to them. They have to know that you're not going to judge them for how they feel. Because this world fucking sucks sometimes. And they need to be able to say to you, Ma, it feels like this world sucks. What can I do? But too many kids don't have that. Too many of you think, we can pray it away. It don't matter. And you're letting your little time bombs build up. And then on the Crowley family's issue, they literally let him have access to weapons. Now they're trying to say, oh, we didn't make it easy for him. You literally did. And 6 children died. Several others were injured. He went in with the purpose of destroying as many lives as possible. And that is on everybody who knew he was hurting and didn't listen. emails back and forth between teachers. What are we going to do about this? Something should have been done, but we don't have enough resources in our school for that. And if you think elected Republicans are going to help that situation, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I can sell you. We need better legislators. We need more money in our schools, and we need more than teachers. I'm sorry, but even my kid's virtual school has a licensed therapist, speech therapist, behavioral, and physical therapist on hand. He goes to more weekly meetups for both group, physical, and speech therapy than he did in regular school. Every school should have that. And if your school doesn't provide that, especially if you have a special needs child, that's a problem. And way too many red states, they don't even want to give your kid free lunch. And you want to keep electing these dummies so that your kid is not only poorly educated, stuck fearful, but also in this weird mix of entitlement. It is a cocktail of disaster that we need to stop making. And we can do that. And it starts with our own political investment and investing in our kids. I'm telling you, this week off wasn't a full week off because I tried to keep invested in news articles, and just the inundation of bad is the reason why I don't watch regular TV news anymore. But even the written stuff is starting to get on my nerves. Stories of abuse, stories of murder, stories of crime. It can wear you down. And I know that there's more than that out there. But if you go by the way our media frames stuff, it is nothing but bad 24/7. And then you log on to Twitter and they're threatening apartheid edgelords ownership. He's already talking about laying off 75% of the people. And it's like, you know what? No, I don't think I'm going to do this today. And it's just hard. And it's getting harder because the closer it gets to the midterms, the more nerves are frayed. I've seen the back and forth in the fight, and I'm staying the fuck out of it. Unless I am directly responded to, y'all have at it. I am not getting in the middle of personal beefs and back and forth. Times are tense. Everybody's nerves are frayed, and I don't blame you. You've got polls like this one that legitimately are not indicative of the reality. Early voting in Georgia has already shown Democrats turning out. Early voting here in Michigan too. We are tired of the narrative that the messages are strong enough. The message is us or fascism at this point. So I'm just tired of letting a media that's already biased against actual democracy call the shots in the narratives. And it's tiring. I read about those twins in Texas having to run to a neighbor's because they're being abused. There are way too many breeders, as I like to call my fellow cisgendered Americans, having kids that they can't take care of. This isn't a black issue or a white issue. This is an American issue. You pop out babies because you think, oh, I'll be able to handle it. Not realizing that these are independent beings that you've got to care for, you've got to feed, you've got to clothe, and you've got to put up with. And there are way too many unstable people who don't understand that abusing these kids. And it's sickening to me. And it's to the point where it's like, why are we still doing this? Is this really what human function is? Putting ourselves in these constrained societies, struggling, bringing up others into a struggle, harming them. It's troublesome. And that's why I beg you, when it gets to be too much, take breaks. It'll all be here when you get back. I know it's a little bit harder for me with these Bonnet Chronicles and stuff, but taking those few days to just be with my family was just, it was what my brain needed. It was what my whole spirit needed. Because it just gets to be too much. One of the things I've realized about this election season especially is trying to weed through the lies, trying to weed through the egos and the attitudes. It's not my job. My job is to talk about the issues as close as I can, keep things factual, and protect my peace. And that means when I see people arguing on Twitter that I agree with both of them normally, but they don't like each other, I'm going to mind my business. It's real easy to let y'all have at it, block each other if needed, and keep it about my merry way. I am tired of watching these weird cliquish feuds go on, and I don't want no parts of it. This week has been really rough on the nerves. I did a mental health vlog about it. My mom's trying to push back again. I don't understand her particular nonsense, because mentally I think she knew I was done with her 2 years ago, but she seems to think that now's the time to try to put your way back in. I've made it clear that's not going to happen. That's the reality of dealing with a narcissistic parent. That's the reality of life. You got people in your life that just constantly try your patience. And you've got to set and enforce them boundaries. You know, exactly, Beans. I couldn't believe that. The text that she sent to him wasn't even the text of a concerned parent. It was master level manipulative. What can I get for my grandson as a gift? Because it's not fair that you're not letting me into his life. And my brain goes, lady, we don't owe you that. And getting him a gift isn't a doorway open. But I knew the moment that I got myself published, I knew the moment that I started taking chances with my work, that I was going to be dealing with stuff like this. I just thought that she would give me some time to really pop off before she tried it. No. So I have to be very forceful in keeping and maintaining that boundary, because I know she doesn't respect me. I know she doesn't care. It is the reality that I accepted years ago. But it doesn't mean I have to be the bigger person, No. I have to put that boundary and respect that boundary. And I keep reminding people of that. And welcome to the chat, Fire Eater. Exactly. The polling is just so skewed, and it's on purpose. They want people who are already on the cusp of apathetic to be like, well, it's not going to matter anyway. And they know that these constant in-sources of negative reporting will affect midterm turnout. And that is on us. We can go blaming the media all we want, but I see those bad things all the time. I still vote. Many black women still vote. Many using this chat still vote. So it is on you who allow these polls and these negative articles to directly affect your voice, to stop doing that. Because the only reason why they keep putting out these skewed polls, the only reason why they keep putting out these pro-GOP and negative Democratic hit pieces is because they know it's effective to those of you who are wishy-washy. Those of you on TikTok still talking about messaging less than a month away from November 8th. Yous are the problem. And with women's rights literally on the line, with the fact that some of us are literally on waiting lists for things like our medicine, for things like IUDs, because I literally have fibroids that are kicking my ass right now. But getting the IUD has been freaking nightmare, because the repeal of Dobbs made certain things harder to do. Birth control is now on the line as well. And don't think that several states didn't already have laws in place that they can just enact to completely outlaw things like birth control, because they want to turn us into broodmares. And if that's not the life you want for yourself, even if you are, because I like to remind people where I am mentally, just so that you understand, because too many people try to black white this issue, try to make it where it's hard line, and they don't respect us women who are somewhere in the gray area. I am very pro-choice. I want to have the possibility. The only reason why I'm putting up with fibroids right now instead of getting a hysterectomy is because I want the choice of if I want to have a baby with my partner to still be able to. I'm still of the ability to. It's my choice. I also had the choice to get a hysterectomy. Instead, I went the IUD route 2 years ago. It is almost time for me to get that changed. But because of the repeal of Dobbs, that medication, along with several others, are coming under fire. I voted yes for Prop 3 because I feel it is my body, my choice. But we are up against hardline Christian conservatives who believe that women like me should just suffer. Oh, you might bleed out. Oh, your uterus might fucking give you all kinds of issues. Who cares? That's not my problem. I've got a penis. I don't have to worry about that. If you die, I'll just replace you with somebody younger. This is the fucking reality they want. And too many women have been signing up for this shit far too long, and that is not our place. And I am sick and tired of you consigning us to some weird Gilead fantasy of yours because you will not be the heroine in this situation. And I can't believe I have to tell fellow sister girls this. I can't believe that I have to constantly give you this wake-up call. How many more stories of fucking underage girls having to cross state lines because they are literally carrying their rapist baby? How many other women have to fucking near die because people don't understand that abortion doesn't just happen to people who want to terminate healthy pregnancies, but that miscarriages and other ectopic pregnancies, other issues with the body allow that procedure to have to be done. Too many people don't even bother to learn basic biological functions. And it's tiring. To the point where they tweet out, well, your body isn't supposed to bleed each month. That's why it does. Periods are a natural thing. And you're not supposed to just get pregnant to stop period. I can't believe we even have to say this, but I literally know that this is going on. That's why they have fucking shows like 19 Kids Accountant. They are literally raising young white girls to believe that they need to breathe. That is their only function. And it is a scary society because they can't really afford to take care of these kids unless they get a freaking TV show or get a church gig going. And it is a scary time to be because they are literally old world mentality versus a new ever-changing world that says girls can be whatever they need to be. Why are you trying to confine us to one biological function? And then when we decide this is not how we want to be, that we want to make choices for ourselves, people want to lament that, oh, they're not giving sex to guys. You are literally trying to consign our species into these arbitrary, useless roles, and it's got to stop. It's scary time right now. And it really is. Exactly. They literally just had a convention too, where not only are they pushing some weird propaganda where supposedly Trump will be president again by the end of the winter, which no, he's not. Hopefully that motherfucker will have to at least avoid the January 6th committee, but he's never going to be president again. Like, it's not happening. He's gone. They're delusional. And their delusion goes into the thought that they have to own somebody. They can't own my people legally anymore, even though they would love to get back to those days. So who can they pick on? Who can they full-on brainwash to believe in that they have a place, and that place is this, and it's women. And we women who see this shit, who know, not me, man, we have to turn out because there are way too many sister girls that are full-on buying that script. Some of them don't have a choice. They were literally raised to be little handmaidens. We can't save them right now, but we can give them a better society where they have a choice. But there are some that skirt that line, and they are the worst. They're the ones that will smile in your face while swinging a flag, while knowing that everything they say and do goes against it because they are outspoken. But they know that they are pushing for a society where they have no voice, and they are the most dangerous right now. I do not trust any open conservative women right now. Because they are the kind that'll say, well, I'm for my right to choose. I'm for my right to have certain things, but you got to do things my way. And I was taught that my place is behind the man. No, my place is wherever I want it to be. And my partner respects me and I respect him. And I refuse to live in this weird society where you vie for hierarchy instead of having an actual partnership. But that is the instability that the other side pushes, that we keep trying to normalize, and we've got to stop because it doesn't work. We've seen it in the way they yell at people in public. That's why so many of them are on TikTok under the label of Karen freakouts. When you have no power at home and you're devalued, you take that out on society. But if you're in a home where you're an equal partner, where you're not vying for who's in charge and whose voice is more important, when you value each other based on an actual compromise and not just one thing over another, it's funny how you don't have to go out and take shit out on people because you're not that kind of person. But we don't want to talk about that, right? We don't want to unpack the reason why these women behave that way. We just want to shift blame, and that has got to stop. And it stops with us. Those of us who are doing the right thing, I know y'all don't feel called out, and I appreciate it. I love being able to talk to you guys. But those of you who might watch the rebroadcast of this when I get it up on YouTube, if you feel defensive or attacked by what I'm saying, especially if you're a white woman right now, you need to pause. Because I'm not calling you directly out. I am calling out the system that devalues you. I am calling out the idea that your only function is your sex. I am calling out the idea that nurturing has to be the only primary function in your ability to be here. It is nice being a mom. And I don't take from any woman that feels like that is your calling. But when you make it where that is our only, this is not 100 years prior, where human societies didn't have ways to educate, ways to grow and flourish our minds and bodies. Back in the day where survival was the only thing humans could do, yes, breeding and nomad life was a natural thing. Now we are growing. We should be moving beyond. Not only studying here, but going beyond the stars. And instead, we are fighting over land and still trying to figure out who we're going to make the next property. And it's got to stop. And women, I'm sorry. My people's already done this shit. I refuse to let you do this to our gender in the whole. So you need to get it together. Next month, we need to turn out. And you can call it cutesy names like Rovember if you need to. I don't particularly agree with that. I think it is insulting because we warned you back in 2016 that this shit was going to go down and you called us hyperbolic. And now that it's happened, it's like, yeah, I already got it. I told you so to you on the line. But calling it all the cutesy names you want doesn't matter. Your ass is getting out there. The vote does. We need turnout. We need to shut the media up. We need the GOP to understand that they fucked up. And we need turnout consistently. Not just because you're mad about the Dobbs. Every time it is on you. Every time you need to turn in the ballot for those little local elections you don't think matter. Until your school board bans stuff like I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings and Mouse. When you think that who represents you doesn't matter on a congressional scale until they say something violently anti-Semitic. And you're stuck scrambling because you're not anti-Semitic and you don't want that kind of voice in your congressional halls. This is the stuff that matters. And way too many people play games with this. And it's not the time to play games. These midterms matter, but every single election does too. And way too many use a wishy-washy with your political participation, yet you're the biggest complainers about shit not being right. But when we ask you who's leading, who is your district rep, who's your comptroller, who's running even your ballot system, you don't know because you don't think you need to care. But this is the stuff that you should be invested in because it all matters. We seen what happened. I talked about it last Tuesday, that council meeting where these council members literally talked crap about a 2-year-old black child using racial terminology. These were elected officials in charge of zoning, in charge of making stuff for these children's potential school futures. And this is why it matters that you politically invest yourself. Now, homegirl stepped down, and they're calling on the others to resign. But do you think they're the only ones? And the thing I will say about our party that the Republicans can never say is that we hold ours accountable. We make them realize that we don't need them. And we need more of this. Is our side perfect? No. I don't believe in perfect. We're humans. We're going to fuck up. But we hold those feet to the fire when they do. And I really want more of that. And I want more people elected like Lauren Underwood, Sharice Davis, Lucy McBath. And we have so many amazing people running like Cheryl Beasley, Val Demings, Stacey Abrams, Beto O'Rourke. We've got tons of incumbents like my Governor Whitmer running here. So many elections that can make our country further in the progress, but safer from the looming threat of fascism. And it is on us. It is our job to just elect these people. After that, if you want to go a few weeks without thinking, that's fine. You did your part. But some of you don't even want to do that much, but want to be fucking loud about, oh, the prices are up in the recession. We were warning you for months now. I know I put out a threat early in the summer about shopping smarter. I already got part of my Thanksgiving stuff already early too, because they've been talking about poultry shortage. And with the stunts DeSantis and Abbott does, I can't trust the supply line. We have been stocking up slowly all summer on things like food and drink, got a second deep freezer in, because we knew that shit might go to shit, and we like stocking up. I think it is smart, if you have it, to just get a little extra each month. Get that bag of rice, stick it in your pantry. Even if you don't use it, as long as it's not open, you have stuff. I was raised, like many Gen Xers, by silent generation grandparents, so stocking up is natural to me. But some of you are acting brand new. Oh, the price of stuff went up. The price has always been in flux. And when you're poor, you learn how to shop. So I do not understand the people bitching, but I appreciate that you have that luxury. The rest of us are just going to get through this. Where, especially those of us who survived like the 70s recession, which was awful, the 80s where people were literally living in their cars, this is nothing. Oh yeah, the prices are fucking high, but if you shop smart, you can mitigate that. There are plenty of places. A lot of you turn your nose up to places like Aldi's. I don't. You can take $20 in Aldi's and fill your cart up. So unless you're a real snob and you have to shop at that Whole Foods because you want to flex, unless you're trying to take a weird ass picture for your TikTok to complain, there's legit no reason why you can't navigate this. Team broke ass captain here. I am fine. As you can see behind me, we even got our snack pile for the fall and stuff stocked up too. And the only reason why we keep this in here is any of you with autistic teens especially know, if that was in his area, they'd be gone. Can't stop the kid, so we keep it in here so that he doesn't go through them, because I learned that lesson the hard way. The reality of the situation is times are always going to be up and down, but I refuse to let the defeatists win. I refuse to let the narrative that everything bad get to me. I refuse to not utilize my voice and vote. It is real easy to let the constant influx of negative influence you. That's why they have a whole ass subsect of the internet full of influencers. And if you need to be influenced by somebody, be influenced by the people that are actually doing. There are a lot of us, the whole chat. We go out, we vote, we encourage people, we filling out postcards because some of us are introverts and we don't like talking. Text banking, phone banking, canvassing. We want you to use your voice. Y'all let some fool on TikTok influence you into buying pink sauce, but you're not going to vote? Are you serious? We have way too much on the line. So if you need somebody on the interweb to tell you what to do, listen to the old Bonnet lady. Utilize your voice. Know who represents you in the Congress. Know who's your local representative. Go to a school board meeting if you have to. Because this shit matters. We have seen how hardline the other side's becoming because they realized we were a bit too soft. They're taking over. Everything's too woke. We're losing out money and power. We've got to go completely nuclear hardline with the fascism, flag waving patriot, blah, blah, blah. They've made it clear. They're not even trying to hide their agenda. They've already called Social Security an entitlement. They don't believe women deserve rights. They are completely vilifying the LGBTQ. It is time for those of us who see this bullshit for what it is to make a stand. And if you are 18 years and older and consider yourself a Dem or the independent as I rallied against earlier, you need to do the right thing because the other side has shown us. You don't need a deeper message than that. You don't need any other instruction than your rights will be gone if they're in charge. You've seen the kind of leadership they put out there. Assholes like Abbott. Assholes like DeSantis, who like to cosplay tough. But when push comes to shove, flee whenever things go bad. Whose constituents considerably suffer under them, while people will already have more than enough benefit. And if you are tired of that, if you are tired of a system that feels stacked against you, you need to do what you can to even that system out. It's not impossible. But if you go by the way our media frames it, oh yeah, things can't change. You shouldn't think about stuff. Who cares if stuff is on fire? Who cares if people are getting guns and shooting stuff? Who cares if they're framing stuff as you owe them sex? I care. And you need to care too. Utilize your voice next month if you haven't already. To those of you who have early voted, absentee ballot voted, thank you so much. You are doing your part. And to those of you like Music Animal, I seen you. Thank you so much for filling out postcards. Afro Sabby, all of you in the chat. I've seen the work that you have done online and offline to help get the word out. And it is so appreciated. All of us are doing our part to try to save our democracy. And I know to some, oh, you're tooting your horn. Damn right I'm tooting my horn. My grandfather fought against actual fascism. He went overseas in World War II to make sure that what was going on in Nazi Germany didn't happen here. So I'd be damned if I'm going to sit back and be apathetic and let that shit in another way packaged as a Bible happen here. And I know that I am far from the only Gen X raised by that kind of backbone. Raised by a freaking family that kicked the ass of actual Nazis. And don't want to see neo-Nazis comfortably flying those shitty flags at rallies here. But that is the reality that we're up against, and we have got to push back. And we push back smart, because those fuckers aren't smart. And we push back competently. I know we can do this, y'all. It is so exactly. We are a different kind of tough beings. I love it. And I seen that generational thing earlier too. That was how the whole week started off too. That weirdo thing about Gen Xers. And I was like, excuse you? Because yeah, I know there are some white. I went to school with them. I'm from Staten Island. I keep reminding people that I'm from the one red borough I had a friend, and not to call her out because I used to love this girl. She and I thought we would be best friends forever, but like everybody, you move away, you lose contact. Last I seen on her, she was a full-fledged MAGA. This girl was a willowy, speckled wallflower back in the day. Completely nerdy Daria-like girl back in the day. And then all of a sudden, she's a full-on conservative. And it shouldn't shock me because she's far from the only white girl I know that made that weird jump. But to have all your friends were black. Like you were legitimately one of the few white faces in our group. And now all of a sudden, you're pro MAGA. But that is the reality of certain white Gen X women. Especially on a shitty ass borough like Staten Island. And it's sad. But that's not every Gen X. And for black Gen X, especially, we were raised with elders who taught us about voting. We had the stories of our ancestors being lynched, of our close relatives being lynched. Great uncle swung from a tree. They named the street after him. That wasn't compensation. And his crime? Filling out a ballot. When you have those stories, you can't afford to fucking play around with the side that would literally let you do that and put you on a postcard. So I'm sorry, no, I do not ascribe to that. I think her name is Andrea. Lady going on about Gen X like we're all just one blanket. And I agree, respect. Please go back to ignoring us. We are the ghost generation for a reason. Most don't even understand who is Gen X. Everybody gets it wrong. I had somebody try to tell me I was a millennial the other day. And I started laughing. I was like, I appreciate you trying to say I look young. But anybody who can remember legitimate 8-tracks, have wood paneling on their Atari console, had a home with those big ass black and white heavy ass television sets that you couldn't even sneak and watch because it warmed up and your parents could touch test it. Phones that literally had a rotary feature. If that was your life, you are fucking at least able to claim Gen X. I lived that life. Plenty of us did. So I appreciate you trying to quantify me, but like most Gen X, I don't give a fuck. You want to call me a millennial? Call me a millennial. You call me a boomer? Call me a boomer. I don't give a fuck. That is the consensus of most of us. Some of us are just shocked we're still here because a lot of our friends didn't survive. I lost friends early. I was in junior high school when one of my first friends died in a car accident joyriding with her sister. I feel like our brush with mortality has always been touch and go. And then you always had outside factors. We were the day after tomorrow generation, constantly looming under threat of nuclear, and that's back again. And to most of us, the collective meh, what else is new? That's the reality of being a Gen Xer. But when you try to act like Gen X whites represent all of us in the political process, ignoring that 90%, especially 90 plus for Gen X black women, turn out for Democrats. This is why I speak up. This is why I do shows like the Bonnet Chronicles, because I want our voices to be heard. I don't want to be drowned out by these weird optics that try to pit our generation as right-leaning. I get that even black women, we have certain conservative values. A lot of us were raised up in the church. A lot of us have to process the way this world is changing. But we are still open-minded. You might go and worship one way and the next day get your freak on. And that is the reality. I've seen some of yous that were in church one minute and the dance halls the next. Y'all ain't slick. But the reality of our situation is there are too many people in our media trying to frame this by generation. And as a black Gen Xer, I'm calling bullshit on your narrative that we lean right. We already understand the assignment. We've been understand the assignment. We didn't need you to tell us to vote or die, but we had that. We knew we had to rock the vote. We have had several voting initiatives pointed at us. And while, yes, we look like the disaffected generation, a lot of us turn out. A lot of us just go under the wire because we don't need to make it about us. We just need to do our part. What we're not going to do is take blame for those who are indoctrinated. And sadly, that is on the demographic that keeps trying to tell us that they're our allies. But you ain't showing us that. And that is on you. If you want us to stop looking at you like you're potential enemies, y'all got to start working on your sister girls. That shame seems to work to get you to all call in to doing stuff to harm our rights. So why can't you shame your communities into doing the right thing? Like, it does work that way. When people feel like, oh my God, if I'm like this, they'll shun me. I don't want to be shunned. I want to be accepted. We need to start making it more acceptable to be diverse. It will work. We've seen it work. It's how the church has kept control for so many years, is that fear of being ostracized. Well, we need to start ostracizing these closed-minded fuckers, because the world is changing whether they like it or not. They are not going to change on their own, but you know what helps? When they're like, oh, nobody wants to be around me. I'm not invited to any of the social stuff. All these people are having fun without us. We don't want to be left out. Use that social stigmatizing for good. Like I said, maybe I'm just a sociopath. Maybe it's just the way my brain works. But I realized that these people, they've utilized this for years now. That fear of being isolated, that fear of being kicked out. And you know what? If it works to indoctrinate them into hateful things, it can work to break that hateful thing. It really needs to start being used. And we've seen it the last few years. I know a lot of people who have walked away from MAGA relatives, who have cut off ties with former friends. And it hurts. But it's their loss. Because for every one of them you lose, you gain people who actually want to move on to actual progress with you. And I don't just mean those weird, loud, left types that want their weird socialist utopia. They're a mess, and I don't pay them no mind. I mean the people who are in the middle, who understand that progress helps everybody, the actual pragmatists. We are out there, and we are going to make this place better. And I know that it's hard right now. So within this next few weeks, I want you to promise me to take the time to rest, relax. If Twitter gets to be too much, take a break. If the news cycle gets to be too much, take a break. Do not let this world run you down. We need y'all. All of y'all. I'm going to take my time away as well. I'm telling you. I originally was not going to take last Friday off. But just when we got the phone call, and it wasn't surprising because of what he was going through, but when we got the phone call that Greg's grandfather passed, it was kind of like, wow. That moment, that mortality hits you, and it was just like, I can't function. And I don't grieve the way normal people grieve. I'm not going to sit there crying and screaming over it. My brain just goes, well, there goes life reminding me that it has a limit again. And I had to mentally go through the process of handling death. That's just how neurotypical brains work when it comes to death. Yeah, you go through these weird lows where you question why you're here, what your function, and all that stuff. At least that's how it is for me. And it was good to just take some time away, focus on things like art and writing, and hopefully, next month won't be disappointing. That's another reason why I think taking breaks is important, because if we keep allowing ourselves to be influenced by all the bullshit we see online, next month might be disappointing even when we get a win, because that's been a thing the last few years too. We got a great president and vice president, and all I see is constant negativity because we don't even know how to be happy. And I want you to start finding ways to be joyful, because I'm telling you, it is a new act of defiance. It is a new way to define yourself, is to be joyful and jubilant and look for things to be excited about. It is, to me, the best way to be cynical now, because everybody wants us miserable and fearful, and I just refuse. I've got way too much looking forward to. And I have sent out so many copies of the book this week. So if you haven't gotten yours yet, it will be here soon. They are signed. We just got another box in, so we will be getting those out to people who have inquired. I want to thank you all so much. I'm about to wrap this up. I did not hear footsteps yet, but we took a chance tonight and decided to hold off dinner for everybody at once. Kiddo fell asleep. I normally make his dinner before the Bonnet Chronicles so that we don't have these issues. But he passed out. And I was like, you know what? I want to make everything at once anyway. So I'm going to get ready to go do that. So that when he wakes up, he's not like, I don't remember if I ate dinner. I love my child, but you know how it is with teenagers. But I want to thank you ladies so much for sitting in. I will be back again on Tuesday with another Bonnet Chronicles. The closer it gets to the election, the more heavy I am going to keep doing these and keeping the focus on them. And then once the midterms are up, Tuesdays will be all kinds of stuff, because there's always stuff going on. I know some of you are on YouTube with me. And while I don't like certain dramas, there are so many things that I love talking about that I would love to bring up on Tuesdays especially. So we'll be doing a lot more of that. I am just so happy that you have given me this platform, and I appreciate you all. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Go make dinner. You all have a great weekend, and I will definitely see you on Tuesday. Oh, he's going to get it. Exactly. I was trying. I was like, how much more do I got to ramble on before he starts it up? Oh, definitely. And I'm probably doing Election Day special. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you on Tuesday. Y'all have a good evening.